Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Data Cloud Now. I'm currently in San Francisco, where I'm now delighted to be joined by Taylor Brown, co-founder and COO of Fivetran, along with Phoenix Majumder, Senior Director of Data and AI at Workday. Gentlemen, such a pleasure to be with both of you here today.
So excited to be here. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. Pleasure to be here.
Looking forward to diving in. Taylor, to start with, we're seeing a significant shift in how enterprises approach their data strategies. From your perspective, what's driving that shift, and what are you hearing from Fivetran's customer base?
Yeah, right. I think there are two things. The first one is certainly AI. I mean, everyone is focused on AI. They're focused on how they get value out of AI. They're focused on how they increase productivity of their organizations with AI. That is a big shift. The second is, I think a lot of folks, as we were talking about earlier, have invested heavily in their data strategy and they want to get the results out of those. I think the thing that people don't think about that often is that 99% of the world's data is actually private data. It's held by organizations. And so companies or their competitive advantage is how do they get the most out of their data? Fivetran, that's what we focus on. We are the global leader in data movement, helping companies centralize data in an automated fashion from all the different locations that they have that data. And we help them maximize their AI strategy.
It's great to hear, Taylor, and it's wonderful to be joined by one of your customers in Workday. Phoenix, Workday's been working to centralize its internal data and scale insights across teams from finance to product. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced along the way, especially as you move towards a more unified AI-ready data platform? And I have to say, we hear a lot about, quote, being AI-ready, but that can mean different things in practice. How is Fivetran evolving to help customers like you build AI-ready data foundations?
Fantastic. To start with, right, like I'm glad that you spoke about the challenges, right? There are challenges and it's easier said than being implemented, right? So couple of things to consider here. First, disparate data systems, right? When we talk about data, data is all over the place, right? Many system of records, many source systems, and technologies like Fivetran help us to integrate them all together, right? Like bring data and in one centralized location, break data silo, if I may, right? That's one component of the challenge. The other component of challenge is bringing data and collecting data doesn't mean that I have ability to distribute and democratize data. That means that we have to know what the data is, what the data's purpose is, the quality factor. So data governance plays that much more of an important role because we have to collect the data, govern the data before we can distribute the data. And then last but not the least, like build scalable systems that can handle our current and future data use cases. Right? While this technology and the overall data landscape, especially with the advent of AI, is changing every 6 months. So how do you conceptualize a system that meets your current short to midterm objectives, but it is capable enough to grow and be forward compatible as the technology changes? So taking that modular system mindset was a hard challenge for us. Like we had to really go back to the drawing board and rethink the modular components of how we will be building our data ecosystem. So as the landscape changes, as the technology changes, we are able to plug and play various components and keep ourselves up to par.
Great insights. And Taylor, I'd actually like to ask you that same question with regards to being AI ready. How is Fivetran evolving to help customers build AI ready data foundations on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, as Sridhar said on Monday night in the kickoff, in the keynote, your AI strategy is only as good as your data strategy. And so while there's some things have changed in terms of how customers are leveraging their data, a lot of the components that Phoenix is talking about haven't necessarily changed. The foundation is still built on, do I have access to all the different data where it resides? Can I get it out of those silos? Can I add context on top of that? Can I do it in an automated and scalable way and secure way? And once you have all that context, then you can do a whole lot of stuff with that. And so I don't know that has necessarily changed. That hasn't revolutionized in the last 6 months or 12 months. It's what customers are doing with that data that is really changing. And what we're seeing, again, as I said earlier, is the advantage that companies have is if they've done all that hard work, then they're actually getting the benefits of having AI on top of that, right? Of running their ML models and that kind of thing.
Got your great perspective. Thank you, Taylor.
Absolutely.
And Phoenix, I want to dive into Workday for a moment longer in regards to your data architecture and supporting the company's AI goals. In diving into the details, Are you using data lakes, warehouses, or a mix of the two? And can you explain how all that comes together to deliver real-time insights, and how have partnerships like Fivetran had the most impact?
Great question, right? And I'll start with a simple notion. There is no silver bullet. So, right? So it's not like we go to data lake architecture, it will be successful, or we go to a data warehouse architecture, it would be successful. My perspective here, based on my experience and observations, it has to be a hybrid system where we should definitely leverage power of traditional data warehousing, which gives structure, which gives agility, which gives speed. But at the same time, we should have ability to collect and harness the power of various data formats, right? Well, unstructured, structured data that gives us ability to operate in a data lake-like environment. So it's ultimately a hybrid between data lake and data warehouses, right? To start with. But again, I can't emphasize enough that just having a data lake or having a data warehouse, combining them, hybridizing them is the solution either. Because while I have the data, if I can't distribute it, if I cannot democratize it, it's of no use. So overlaying those data lake, data warehousing structures with use cases as we are building the capabilities is that much more important. So it's almost like as we are activating new technology capabilities, they have to be supported by use cases to show the value. So that's number one to start with. I'm glad that you asked about how do we prepare for future? How do we prepare for scale opportunities of integration? So it's quite important to consider that there would be what we cannot control are the number of data systems that will evolve over the course of time. What we cannot control, the number of use cases, number of users that will evolve over the course of time. So the central component is the data lake, data warehousing, and the data ecosystem. So keeping it operating with the mindset of integrations becomes that much more important, and technologies like Fivetran help us with that, right? So we bring in data from various systems, integrate them, and then there is a component of data distribution. And that's where technologies which govern the data, technologies that distribute the data, and concepts like building data products helps us with the distribution. So it's almost like building the entire supply chain and keeping it modular enough that it can reverse scale as well as forward scale.
No, great perspective in Phoenix. I'm so glad you mentioned to what's next as you look at the next 12 to 24 months as it relates to those various topics like AI governance and interoperability. What's top of your list to get right in order to ensure long-term success?
Three components: interoperability of AI systems. Number two, considering governance, AI governance, data governance. Number three, change management and AI learning, experimentation. So let's go with number one to start with. There are many vendors in the entire data and analytics and AI system. They all have their AI offering. How do we ensure they're operating with an interoperable mindset, right? They are talking to each other. Like we have an open system mindset it's system of system mindset, right? Like they're talking to each other. Otherwise, it will lead to AI silos and data silos. The data silos that we are trying to break, it will reemerge. So it's extremely important we think about interoperability. Number two, governance, right? Who is building the AI models? Who is operating on the AI model? How they are building it? What are our prioritized use cases? It's an extremely important part of the equation, right? So it's like governance of data amalgamated by governance of AI, right? That will take precedence. Otherwise, we may lead to a scenario that we may have over influx of AI that may not lead to any results, right? That's another important part of it. And last but not the least, this also means that we have to fundamentally rethink how we operate as an organization, right? Like we need to think about which part of the organization can utilize AI in what capacity, how they want to use it, and most importantly, does it mean that our jobs will fundamentally change with amalgamation of AI power with human intelligence? And if we can get all these three things right, possibly we will get the AI equation right.
Looking forward to seeing how that plays out. And gentlemen, before we wrap, what's one thing the market still misunderstands about modern data architecture, especially in the context of AI, data lakes, or multi-cloud strategies? Taylor, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I consistently see over and over again is that companies are investing a lot in AI, and they're expecting these massive leaps in gains from productivity or in their own product gains or whatever. And the reality is like, you don't like have these overnight successes with technology like AI. It's an incremental increase that happens over time. And what we see often is like companies that try to aim for, hitting it out of the park.
Right.
And they choose these really like world changing or company changing initiatives around AI. When in reality, the ones that are having the most success are like the back office incremental improvements on core systems that they've already been running for many, many years. And they start by getting 10% better, and then they get 20% better, and then they get 40% better. And like, there are these incremental changes. So my advice to every company is focus on the things that you're doing, focus on your back office, focus on the mundane, the simple stuff, and do small incremental changes. I think the second thing is that a lot of companies are they keep waiting because there's so much new advances in tech in AI specifically, where they're like, oh, the next model is going to be the right one to focus on. Oh, the next model. And it's like, no, you got to start somewhere, right? Start somewhere, get going, get a little bit of improvement. I think, as we talked about earlier, data foundation of getting all the data together, having a scalable, structure, having governance, all of that becomes really important to do that. You can't skip steps. You can't just like skip that whole piece and just build an AI, infrastructure without actually having data infrastructure. And so it's like, do the basics. I know it's gonna be painful. It's gonna take more time than what a lot of companies want. I think there are a lot of AI leaders that have been hired who are like, I just want to jump. I want to jump ahead. I'm the new head of AI. And the reality is the folks who are making the innovations are the data teams. They're the ones that are actually making the updates, that are fixing the challenges and pushing this advance. And then the last piece, I think, is the human element. Is, if we're going to end up getting 50% more or 100% more productivity out of every employee, that means we're going to do 50% different jobs. There's a lot of change management that's going to have to happen in every organization, and that's not going to happen overnight. We have to start introducing it slowly. Change takes time. Humans take time to adjust. And so, I think that's going to be a journey for a lot of companies over the next year.
Very much a top-down approach.
It's going to, I think you have to push it from the top, but you also have to make it easier for folks to adopt and try stuff and take risks and fail. And like, people have to get comfortable with it over time. You can't just force it on
that journey.
You have to kind of show them and lead them there. Like, hey, why don't you try this? And if you try different things, we'll give you a bonus, or we'll praise you if you are able to do more with AI. And then people start to get success with it and excitement, and that sort of, you kind of have to manage that change appropriately.
Well, gentlemen, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for
being
here today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ryan.
And for the audience watching, I'm Ryan Green with Data Cloud Now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you out there.